Hey guys, just finished watching Gotham, Season 5, Episode 6, Ledger of the Dark Knight, 13 Stitches. Wow, what an episode this one is. There's a few things in this episode, like 3 moments where I just like, oh, come on, a lot of WTF moments in this episode, but the ending reveals in this episode were really, really good and really amazing. I definitely can't wait to see as to where things go, but the first thing that caught me was beginning of the episode. We see Alfred and Bruce. They start Bruce starts questioning the military that's there, the military unit that's at the JCPD and stuff, and they get taken to go they get taken to put locked into some rooms there, and then on the way they take down 2 soldiers, and these soldiers never fight back. Even later on, there's Bruce ends up fighting another soldier on the rooftop. And nothing ever really happens, and even nothing really happens with the soldier. The soldiers don't even try and fight back. They just get hit once and then take all the punches and nothing. And it's like the only soldier who even fights back is the main guy there who plays Eduardo. Who's going to become Bane. Who becomes Bane by the end of the episode, which is a terrible mask. That mask looks terrible for Bane, but I'll get to that later. So yeah, that was just kind of silly. None of this stuff. Yeah, Bruce, he's been doing a little bit of stuff, a little bit of training, okay. But he's not on the Batman level. He hasn't spent years training. These soldiers should be able to take care of Bruce, Bruce can take care of himself a little bit, I get that, a little bit. But nowhere near the level that these soldiers are at. So I just don't believe that he's at that stage yet. So it's just, I didn't understand why they didn't even try to fight, and how he was able to take them down. Maybe Alfred a little bit. Alfred should be better than Bruce by now in fighting. Still at that point, but still he's still a bit rusty. And whereas these guys are trained soldiers who are going out all the time on missions and all that time, so it just doesn't make sense as to how they were just able to knock him out, and they were never fighting back whenever someone was trying to shoot them. Later on, Lee ends up killing the soldier that was going to shoot her, and it's like, how the hell did she do this? This is not the Lee that's kind of ruthless and stuff that we had last season. This is one who's kind of back to the season one, her first Lee, when she first came. She was first introduced, the one who was, damsel in distress, right thing. So even then, she'd never really had any skills in fighting. So how does she take a gun away from this soldier before he could even shoot her? He was supposed to, this soldier, if he was a female soldier, which doesn't make a difference, she still should be highly trained enough to take on even Jim Gordon, because he's not dealing with, yes, he's fighting, he's doing a lot of stuff in the show with, in the city of Gotham and all that stuff, but still not as skilled as, wouldn't be as skilled as fighting, because he's not putting every single, technique to use every day like a soldier would be when they're off on a mission, right? So I just don't believe that. So I understand as to how Lee was able to take one down. It just doesn't make sense, and why they were never fighting. We never see the fight. I'd love to see the fight. I'd love to see how it goes. It would have been better to see these fights a little bit longer. Have the soldier have the upper hand most of the fight, and then at the end, Bruce wins, Alfred wins. The soldier's about to shoot Lee and goes in. The soldier's winning most of the fight, beating Lee up a lot, and then at the end she takes the gun and ends up just winning by sheer luck. Right? That would have made more sense than these soldiers just kind of. They're pretty much may as well be nobodies, because it's like they don't really even fight back, and it just doesn't make sense. Why have them be soldiers again if they're just going to be a stupid waste of a bad guy like that? So it's just kind of annoying that they did that, and it didn't make sense in those scenes as to why the soldiers never even fought back, and how these characters were able to anyone was able to take down these soldiers, and then that's just kind of silly, because they're supposed to be trained soldiers. They're sending them into no man's land, right? So they're just supposed to be trained killers. So it's kind of silly as to it there. So we see the special unit soldiers, and then later on, even after Bruce and Alfred get taken, and we see there's a scene with Bruce where Jim is at Barbara's place, and the soldiers knew exactly to go there. Eduardo knew exactly that he would go there, and Enigma's there. And then they're shooting, and they jump over the counter, the bar, and she pulls out these guns and starts shooting them, right? Two handguns. These military guys, which are outnumbering them, there's like 3 against 6, if not 7, and they all have automatic weapons, and none of them can hit them. Yeah, they run away right away, but like they spend at least each of them shoots out at least half a magazine. So they spend at least a good 15 seconds, 30 seconds shooting before they run up the stairs. And none of these trained soldiers are able to hit them. Like, what the fuck? That's just kind of stupid. It just pissed me off that these soldiers were kind of retarded. You may as well just have had them be stormtroopers, because they're just kind of, their aim was terrible. They can never fight. They can never do anything. They're just kind of stupid. It's just kind of, why? They should have just sent in, they should have just started this thing off and just have Bane straight up show up and just drop in Bane, have him already be Bane before he even got here, and then have him say that he's Bane, he's the ultimate soldier, his ultimate kind of military weapon type thing. We're going to send him in just to wipe everything out. That would have made more sense than these background soldiers that are just kind of useless and not doing anything. See, Eduardo ends up finding Lee. You know, we know she has a chip in her head, because we saw last season that she was... or at the end last season or before the mid-season break, that she was in the she got, her and Ed had stabbed each other and they were kind of dying. That's when I can't think of his name, but the guy who put the chip in Riddler did the same thing. Obviously did the same thing to Lee. We see Penguin ends up hiring Selena to kind of catch a thief. That storyline was kind of interesting, but it was just kind of like, it was just kind of filler storyline. It wasn't really like, here, let's give these two characters something to do. We need a background story. We don't have any background story here, so we need to have something else to fill time. So I was like, why do that? Why have that Penguin storyline and that Selena storyline? Now, if they both get off, if they go somewhere later on, they continue it, okay, that's interesting. But for just this episode, it's just kind of like, why do they want to just focus 100% on the GCPD versus the soldiers, Jim Gordon versus Eduardo storyline, or maybe even have Jeremiah be a background storyline in the episode, rather than having, this Penguin and Catwoman storyline for kind of no reason, introducing this new thief for like why do we need a new character now? It's the end of the last season, right? It's kind of silly to introduce a new character, and obviously they killed her off right away in this episode, but it was just kind of silly and like pointless to this to see where for this episode they could have put more time into other storylines than this storyline. But we'll have to wait and see. If it does go somewhere from now on, then it could be interesting. But if it's just in this episode, then it's just kind of wasting our time. Obviously, Jim ends up killing Eduardo, or at least it looks like he kills him. Obviously, she gets turned into Bane. All we see is the mask get put on in this episode, so we'll have to wait and see as to how his whole costume looks. But I think there is a reveal out there, and it just kind of looks terrible. So we'll have to wait and see as to where things go with this. Hopefully, if they heard the reactions of fans, will have changed his look and stuff, but I doubt it. If I'm not mistaken, they're already completely done filming. I remember seeing a lot of the pictures online of them celebrating their 100th episode for this show, which is the last episode of the series. So I think it'll definitely be interesting to see as to where things go. But Bane looks kind of terrible, and I definitely think it was just kind of bad. So I think what they should have done is already have Bane, already have him created, and just drop him in as like a rampaging monster, kind of like if they kind of like with in Civil War they just shot the Hulk out away, just kind of drop him in and just say destroy everything. I think that would have been way more interesting than this. This relationship is interesting, but these other soldiers are just kind of a waste of time. Why even send them there if they can't do anything? None of them are able to ever do anything or even think their way out of things. I mean, even when Riddler had the bomb with the Riddle and stuff, Bullock had to be the one to figure it out. So none of these soldiers, yes, soldiers are obviously not going to be super scientists, but they should be somewhat. These are highly trained soldiers. They have to have some sort of intellect, at least to figure out this riddle, because they are constantly have to deal with different stuff, knowing they're explosive experts, they're this and that. So some of them definitely should have been able to at least together as a unit figure out how to figure out this riddle. That would have made more sense to see this, because they're soldiers. They need to know how to do stuff. They need to know how to calculate all kinds of stuff all the time. They need to do all kinds of medical stuff for on the field. They just have to know a lot of stuff. So they're constantly using their brain, and they just kind of wasted just pawns in this episode. Pretty much could have just placed them with all stormtroopers, and that's what you would have gotten for this episode. So that was just kind of stupid. We see that Bruce ends up, we find out that Bruce sent out the recording and it got out to the press, so we'll see where things go with that. That'll be interesting to see as to how things continue on from here. We see Jeremiah ends up drugging Alfred, and he brings him to his house and stuff. I thought it was going to reveal the fake lookalikes of Martha and Thomas Wayne. They're revealed in the trailer for next episode, but I don't know why he didn't reveal them here to Alfred. It would have been interesting. It would be cool to see his reaction a little bit. Because it would have been a better reveal. I mean, we pretty much knew that they're he's recreating fake Thomas and Martha Wayne's from last episode when we saw him. But it's going to be interesting to see as to where they go in the next episode. And then Barbara tries to talk to Jim while he's dealing with Lee, who's kind of has a chip in her brain, tries to kill him and stuff. He ends up stopping her and stuff, and then Barbara reveals that she's pregnant. So Batgirl has been conceived. That is going to be interesting. Now, I think it would be really interesting is if we got a flash forward show spinning off of this. This being our last season of Gotham, we would jump forward 25 years, something like that, to Barbara Gordon as like a 15-year-old and having her become Batgirl or something. Or maybe jumping into about 15, she becomes Batgirl with Batman and all that stuff. That would be really interesting. The only problem with that is that they would never do that because they would never do they would never have Batman. Doing a Barbara Gordon show like this, when you would need Batman, and saying that he's been fighting for the past whatever years would kind of work. But even then, if we started training now till like say we jump 30 years, 25 years to Barbara Gordon being Batgirl and stuff, he still wouldn't be as have trained as much as he should have. But yeah, all in all, I definitely can't wait to see as to where things go with this, how are things gonna go, how things are gonna go with Lee and Jim and Barbara and Jim, how things are gonna go with that. I think it's definitely gonna be quite interesting to see as to where things kind of turn out with all that. It'll be quite cool. So hopefully we can wait and see as to where things go. We'll have to wait and see as to how things continue on with this. I think it's going to be interesting to see as to how the dynamic plays out and where does Jim decide to go with. I think it's going to be quite fun to see. So let me know what you think, guys, about all this in the comments below. How do you think things are going to turn out? And I think it would be quite interesting to see all this and how things are going to go. Do you think Batgirl's going to get born by the end of this season? It's going to be quite interesting because if I'm not mistaken, we're still on day, it's been 3 months since the No Man's Land began. So we're still on, I think we're still, because at the beginning of this season, the first episode, we had, a flash forward to, day 300 and something, where we saw Jim Gordon, everyone, all the bad guys and everyone teaming up. So it looks like the government or whoever sent everyone, they've all been written off, but we see Riddler, Penguin, and Barbara and everyone teaming up because they have to save Gotham, right? Versus just kind of shooting everyone from that kind of wall and stuff. So I think that's going to be interesting to see is it from now that she's, that Barbara Gordon's been conceived, Batgirl's been conceived, all the way to that, I gotta kind of want to jump back. Is that going to be after the birth of Batgirl, or is that going to be before the birth? Where is that going to be? I feel like that has to be after, and I've got to remember I haven't watched it in a while to see if she's noticeably pregnant in that. If she's not noticeably pregnant, then it's probably after there. So that's probably more than 9 months away. I think that's going to be interesting to see as to where things go, to see how things kind of play out with her being pregnant, how things are going to change with all that. I think it's going to be quite interesting to see. And also decide, does she want to keep it? In a situation like this, I could see her being I don't want to keep it. And she finds a way to kind of, maybe Barbara dies before the end of the season. Maybe she finds a way, day after pill or something, that Bruce is able to sneak in from somewhere else on a secret, supplies or something. I think it could be interesting to see as to where things go with this. But obviously, I feel like it's going to go to the whole Batgirl thing. But, does she really want to give birth to Batgirl in this situation like this? Could be something interesting to play with. And I definitely can't wait to see as to where things go with all this. So I definitely can't wait to see as to how things turn out. Definitely going to be quite interesting to see as to where things go. So let me know what you think, guys, about all this in the comments below. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.
I'm Captain America, here to talk to you about one of the most valuable traits a soldier or student can have.
Subscribing.
Sometimes subscribing is the key to victory. Sometimes it leads to very little, and it seems like it's not worth it. And you wonder why you waited so long for something so disappointing. How many more of these?
You're still here.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, guys. Peace.
It's over.